Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. In this review, we will be reviewing Andor Episode 6. It just hit, so watch it after this review if you want. Please, if you stick around, remember to like and share. It'll really help our channel grow. And I also want to thank and welcome our 82 subscribers. We reached it. Thank you so much. Yes, and I cannot wait to create more content with you. So, Dylan, this is an interesting episode, so let's get right into it.
This was an awesome episode, dude. I'm so glad that, the wait paid off. I know the last couple episodes were kind of slow paced, but yeah, this episode, man, I kept saying before we recorded, kind of felt like an action or like a spy thriller movie. Kind of like, it made me think of Valkyrie with Tom Cruise a little bit. There's just so much build up and so much kind of like, sabotage and spy elements into it. I really love this episode, but what did you think about it?
Yeah, man, I predicted that last episode. I was saying that it's probably going to be full on heist, and I'm glad because one of the criticisms you had was that it's kind of like too much of a slow burn, or maybe perhaps a little bit like boring or something. So I'm glad this was like full on action. I was really nervous through the whole thing. I think this cemented the idea of gritty realism into Star Wars, and I think it was great. I think they executed it really well, and unfortunately we had some people that died. So yeah, let's just start with that. Let's just start right in the beginning of what happened in the episode.
Yeah, so last episode obviously they were building up to this kind of heist, like you said. So they're trying to steal like the payroll credits from the Imperial base. They had some help from Tamrin, who's like the inside man for the Empire. Um, so it's interesting. We got so many points of view in this episode, and we really saw like where everybody's like true kind of like agendas were. Especially with like some of the rebel crew as well. But yeah, Andor, yeah, man, his character and this, he's so prepared for what happens, and I love that little like conversation between him and Nemik, because Nemik is kind of like nervous, like he believes in the cause, but he's so, like his anxiety's building up. But like Andor, he's kind of like used to this, right? This is normal for him. um and it's kind of sad what happens and later in the episode. But yeah, so they're preparing. It was a weird like back and forth because we saw like these like, they're called the Adani people. It was kind of like they're having this like ceremony, which actually was really cool looking at it. It was like called the Eye. It was like this celestial thing that happens every like 100 years or some shit. So as that's happening, it's kind of like this whole plan is going through, and they're like dressed up as like Imperial officers too, and they're kind of like sneaking into this base. And Vel, she's spear pointing this operation. But even she was kind of like nervous too at times. You could see like the anxiety. Like there's so much pressure that you could really feel the stakes in this episode. That's why I love this show, because it's like you feel the consequences, right? If you're like even like a second off, or like you miss something, like the whole thing just goes awry, and then lives are in danger. But yeah, tell me more to what you thought about this episode.
Yeah, so Donnie, I've noticed something, and I could be wrong, but I feel like that just felt like it was kind of like a metaphor for gentrification. If not, then probably something else. Um, it was, and then the guy was explaining it, like this little scheme that he has going on, trying to slowly get him to like get out of there and stop their culture somehow. Um, and it reminds me, like, that I think there's a lot of like callbacks to our government, and like how the cities are run, or the states are run sometimes. And I think it was a really compelling revelation. It was really like it harkened home, I think, a lot. And then also, I think Vel, the whole thing is like, again, it's gritty realism. I'm glad actually that she was really nervous. I'm glad to see that, because I didn't realize at first really that this whole scheme was so. I didn't realize it was that big, right? I thought it was gonna be like a kind of like smaller thing going on.
Like a solo thing or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, holy shit, there's all this stuff, all these little pieces. And they were prepared, I mean, but there was like one little slip up, right? Which was the radio thing, or like the thing to cut off the radio. And I thought it was like, holy shit. That's when things really hit the fan. But the rest was executed. And later on, even one person died. And I think that really made like that was the final nail in the coffin, really. Like, yeah, I don't know how they're going to come back from that. But I want to also get your thoughts on just how Andor was in disguise and everything like that. And they were trying to infiltrate this area. Lieutenant, I believe the lieutenant was also trying to help them out a little bit too. So give me your
Tamarind,
thoughts
I
on that
think.
whole
Yeah.
thing going on.
Yeah, this like it yeah, it felt so much like Rogue One. There's like so much tension and like, especially when they were like holding like that Imperial officer's like family hostage. I thought that was like an interesting addition to that because it's like they're really rebels, right? It's like what they do is kind of like morally gray even when there's like civilians involved, but like they're doing this in the name of like peace and freedom and stuff. So at the end of the day, they have to remember their values, and I think that's why they included Nemec in the beginning when he's talking about like rebellion and like all the political science behind it. But then there's people like Andor who are kind of like the realists, you could say, like they're true soldiers and they're kind of used to this life. I mean, whether or not they believe in the cause, they're still doing it, for money or something. Yeah, but this whole operation just felt like I was man, when I tell you, like, I kept thinking, like, I hope everything, like, goes smooth. I was, like, praying, like, nothing slipped up, but of course, where's the fun in that, right? So, of course, yeah, like you said, the radio transmission cuts off and they start, figuring shit out. And, they got, like, almost all the credits out. I was kinda mad they only got, like, half of it because there was so much
Hmm.
credits in that vault when you saw, like, "Holy shit." And they almost got away with it too, so that's what made me mad. But yeah, unfortunately, we lose some of the rebels. I forget that one. He was like an ex-stormtrooper or
Oh,
something.
Terriman.
Terriman. Yeah, he. I was mad too because like Skeen was supposed to like cover fire and he didn't do shit. I was like, you lazy
He
motherfucker.
was scared. Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, but he ends up dying, and then I think that lieutenant guy also
Yeah,
died too.
so
It was really fast. I
fast.
couldn't see it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like, oh shit, who died? But
right.
um, And then, unfortunately, Nemec, well, his death was weird. I feel like they could have did this better, but he didn't die getting shot. He actually got crushed by the payroll coins or some shit,
Yeah,
which I thought was a little lazy, but apparently his legs were crushed, and then I guess he just couldn't make it out of there.
yeah,
But the whole time I'm so stressed. I'm like, yo, I hope everybody makes it out.
yeah,
And Andor, you could tell like how good of a pilot he is, getting them out of that whole celestial thing.
yeah.
And it was cool too to see like the TIE fighters mobilized. I always love like seeing how the Empire, like when they're actually like in battle, like how they get ready and shit. Because I think they showed that in Mandalorian season 2, how like the TIE fighter pilots get ready and shit. But they still can't hit shit. I don't know what something about the TIE fighter pilots. Like every time they risk so much for so little. Like it's like, if I was them, I just, like, turn the fuck back around, like, I'm not flying through all that shit just to kill this little ass
The
transport.
unsung heroes. Yeah.
Shit, they better get promotion or some shit. They shoulda got Tom Cruise as, like, a TIE fighter pilot,
Tom
shit.
Cruise, but like no, on a regular jet.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much stress in this episode, and then actually we get this cool little scene where, Skeen and, Andor, they have this, like, conversation, and you really, like, see, like, Skeen's, like, true nature. 'Cause he's like, "Well, there's enough credits in this transport for both of us, so we could just, like, ditch these guys and, like, start a new life." So it's like and he even lied about his brother too, which I thought was so sleazy. But what did you think about it?
I love that whole conversation. I love the planet. Yeah, I think Andor is more of that type of reluctant hero, and I think that he has a good side to him, but he's very hesitant, right? Because that's his survival mechanism. Whereas Skeen is like, I could kind of compare him to some people of the Empire, and that's why I appreciate it. We've seen like characters like Cyril, or and I think or Dedra, right? And they're just trying to make money at the end of the day, or like rise up into their
Mhm.
careers. And with Skeen is like he's just trying to survive, get this money. And I think at the end of the day, if you strip titles away, I think everyone's kind of the same. This show is very like ground level, and I think that's why, like, when Nemec died, I felt like it was very, he didn't die gloriously. It was just like a very like casual type of like mishap, and I like that. I did like it. It was kind of lazy, but I did like it because it shows that anything can happen to you, right?
Mhm.
You're all these rebels are basically meat at the end of the day, right? To get something done. And I could kind of consider the Empire the same way, like the TIE fighter just being blown up, right? They sacrifice themselves trying to get these guys, but they are like, oh no, and then they just die, right? Um,
Cannon fodder, yep.
yeah, and so that whole conversation between Skeen and or what it revealed to me was, everyone's kind of morally gray. It doesn't matter which side you're on.
Yeah, in a weird way, it's like Skeen, he's morally gray, obviously, but so is Andor, right? Because like
He was thinking
he did
about it.
not
Yeah.
hesitate to shoot him. Like on
Yeah.
as soon as he said that shit, he was like, bam, he was like right on spot.
Yeah.
Because Andor, he's really smart. That's why I love his character. He knows what needs to be done to
Mm,
survive, right? Like he is like on point with shit. That I think that's why Luthen picked him, honestly, because he knows Andor is really he's been through this shit and he knows his stuff. And that's how he's gonna get this operation through because he gets results, right?
right.
Um, yeah, that was a great scene, man. Then so then Val gives Andor Nemec's manifesto, which I thought was a really like heartfelt scene because like he's like passing on his legacy kind of. I thought that was a sweet moment. But yeah, what are your predictions for next episode?
I think somehow because Andor, he's gonna take off with I guess some of the money or his cut, right, and leave it all to Vel. And we also get that scene of Luthen. He's like, "Oh, hallelujah," at the end. But he was,
Ah.
yeah, he was kind of like also thinking about like, oh, there probably were casualties, right? So I think Luthen is gonna realize how many casualties there were, and I think it's kind of gonna be like this, like he's gonna try track down Andor, perhaps, or maybe Andor's gonna get into a little trouble somewhere somehow. Maybe Andor will go to that moon planet just for that
Mhm.
Skeen was talking about, just for like a little breath. Um, yeah, it has to move somehow, and I wonder what's gonna happen with Mon Mothma. Like, probably she's gonna meet up with Luthen and talk about it because she was
Mhm.
there at that whole like that place that's so iconic, where
The
Yoda and
Galactic
Palpatine
Senate.
fought. Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
so we'll probably get some more like discussions of what happened, and I think really that because at the end also, we see some of the like people like Dedra, right? They were in that little office space, and they were like saying, we're gonna stay here, and we're gonna hit this hard. We're gonna see who did this, right? And I think that it's gonna kind of be like a thing where Andor has to hide and trying to like get to
Mhm.
a safe space. What are your predictions?
I have a feeling we're gonna see Saw Gerrera next episode. I feel like
Oh,
because we haven't seen him yet. I feel like they're on the run. They're probably gonna try and make their way back to Luthen, but maybe like their ship needs to like refuel or some shit. So maybe they need help from like Saw Gerrera or something. We didn't see Cyril in this episode, so I wonder like what's going on with him. Like, did like his mom get him a job at the mall or some shit? I
he's still
don't
eating cereal.
know.
That's the thing. That's
He's
he's
still
still
eating
like
cereal.
eating it. It's the same conversation.
It
He's
took him
eating
2
cereal.
episodes just to finish that bowl. Um, yeah, and, the ISB, so now they're kinda, like, on high alert because of this incident, so, yeah, they're definitely like, now they're paying attention, right? They're like I think now they're gonna listen to Deidre, and they're gonna realize this isn't, like, an isolated case, there's a pattern to these, like, attacks now, and they're gonna start listening to her, and then that's how she gets, like, promoted, and she starts, like, hunting them down or something. Um, Still no K2S, so I'm surprised until now, we still haven't seen him, so I wonder,
Yeah,
like, how he falls in or, like, how he gets introduced to Andor.
right.
Um, and yeah, Mon Mothma, maybe we'll see more of, like, her, like, in this like, how she reacts to this, you know? Like, what is her role? Or, like, what's her next steps with Luthen, you know? What's the next big, I guess, operation for them? But yeah, great episode, I loved it. Yeah, amazing. How would you rate it?
Oh yeah, I would rate it a 10 out of 10 because I think there was that build up, right? And finally it pulled off. And I also left a lot of questions too for so many characters. And again, we have so many episodes, right? So that's awesome as well. I think we have 6 more episodes if I'm not mistaken. Awesome. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. What would you rate it?
Yeah, I agree, man. 10 out of 10 for me. This was like the best episode so far for me.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. Yeah, like we said, we got a couple more episodes left. But if they keep going at this pace, where it's like we keep getting this kind of like level of like nuance and action, I think it could finish off on a really nice finale.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
that's my thoughts.
Yeah. Well, everybody, this is the end of our review discussion. If you guys made it to end, please remember to like and share. As I always say, check out our social channels and check out our other reviews. We have Halloween Ends coming this Friday. I cannot wait to review it. And of course, every week we review Handmaid's Tale, which we're going to review right now after recording this, and Andor. And we have plenty of content coming in the future, as I always say, for October, November, December, and so the end of the year. Thank you so much for having... for subscribing. If you did, right? If you're our new subscriber, we greatly appreciate you for helping us out. And Dylan, please take us away.
Yeah, for anybody who's new to the channel, we welcome you and we thank you for staying with us. For all our, early followers, we thank you for sticking with us till the end. It's really great, knowing you guys are supporting our channel every day. We're expanding as a podcast. We're doing so great, and we can't do this without you guys. So, please continue to support us any way you can. A like, a share, anything helps the channel. We are on YouTube, of course, but we're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as Anchor. So you can listen to us on those platforms as well. But yeah, thank you so much. And until then, thanks for having lunch with us.
May the force be with you. See you guys.
I kept thinking like the ISB was like like Whiplash, like we're gonna stay here all night until we get a fucking drummer who can play on time.